is said that no one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jails. A nation should not be judged by how it treats its highest citizens, but how it treats those that are perceived as undeserving. People who have served their prison sentences and those who are released through presidential pardoning and other provisions are released directly from solitary confinement into our society. That is why prison conditions matter. These people come home and they become your neighbors. Others come home and they become our leaders. We had read and heard tales about life inside these walls and heard terrifying accounts of the living conditions here.
During our years, there were no blankets, there were no mattresses. I was sleeping on the floor for 4 years myself, no blankets.
While imprisonment seemed far-fetched for many of us, the horrifying incidences of April 2017 demystified the complexity of possible imprisonment for anyone through a traffic incident that would be interpreted as treasonous. The incident would end Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and 5 others in prison for 127 days.
Our president was incarcerated for 127 days, but the positive part that has come out of it is that he was able to understand and appreciate what the inmates are going through.
It is the 15 arrests occasioned on him in his time in opposition that made Mr. Hakainde Hichilema familiar with the inhuman and deplorable conditions in Zambia's prisons.
We have not taught its citizens of Zambia. Because me, I slept on the floor without blankets for 4 months. Human body is so strong.
Hardship is a blessing when it spurs effort and development. Government has elected to change the situation in the prisons by releasing 40 million kwacha to improve the lives of the people in prisons countrywide.
We are trying our best as a New Dawn government to bring in an improved environment, a conducive environment, and that is why when the president made a pronouncement, which I think is about September, that the inmates needed to have a conducive environment, he actually gave a directive that we needed to have beds here and inmates needed to have blankets.
Cell 5 and Isolation Cell 4 at the Mukobeko Maximum Facility are no longer just mere jail cells for the confinement of inmates. They are iconic jail cells that may be rightly viewed as the zenith in God's process to shape Zambia's 7th president.
It's God who takes us through these processes to say, when your time comes, you, my son, HH, if I make you leader of Zambia, when your time comes, correct what you've gone through. Don't repeat it. If you repeat it, then why have I put you there? As a Christian myself, I believe in that.
At the time President Hakainde Hichilema was brought to the Mukobeko Maximum Facility, he was ushered to the cell, Cell 5, which has a capacity of 40 inmates, but had 150 inmates with no beds or mattresses.
At that time, the cell wasn't as conducive as you've seen it, because I think it had an average, like I think the Commissioner General emphasized, it had an average of about 150 in terms of number. Now, those cells are specifically meant to house about 30 inmates on average, but think of 150, that's 5 times. So now, if a space is meant for only 30, then you have 150. You can picture how the sleeping was. That was the first day.
From cell 5, Mr. Hichilema was moved to isolation cell number 4.
We moved him to the other environment, which you also assessed, I think, and so. It wasn't looking like the way you've seen it, because it was an environment where when you lock, usually we do our lockup, I think, by 16 hours. So from 16 hours up to 6 hours, you are confined in a small room.
This isolation wing is the area where prisoners with special conditions, such as contagious diseases and other high-risk situations, are confined.
This particular wing is called isolation. Here we keep, say, inmates or prisoners who may come with special issues, maybe say a disease. You don't want that disease to contaminate others. You isolate them so that you can attend to them.
When God has ordained a path and purpose for you, He will set in your path people that will ensure your mission is fulfilled. Amidst all the happenings and machinations, it was impressed upon the minds of some of the correctional service officers to do right and to ensure the safety and well-being of the man who would become Zambia's 7th president.
When a human being is being prepared for a huge task, sometimes we might not know as human beings, but you go through some phases. And I think that time was a preparation, and no wonder we have a president in the name of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. So that was a preparatory stage.
With the reinvented political will and support, government has transformed the correctional facilities within the few months in office. Cell 5 is now well maintained, with every inmate allocated sleeping space on a bunker bed, a thick, comfortable mattress, and 2 warm blankets. This is also true for other cells within this facility.
There were no beds as you see them now. I slept right on the floor. Mattresses were not here. It was a very harsh time.
Isolation Cell 4, where President Hakainde Hichilema was taken after being moved from Cell 5, had no toilet or shower at the time of his imprisonment. Toilets and showers have been fitted in these cells to accord inmates with special conditions the dignity of a hassle-free bath and excreta disposal.
I'm grateful God took me to prison 15 times. I'm very grateful to Him. Those who took me to prison thought that they were actually punishing me. Actually, they were just tools of God. There are many people in there who have never committed a crime. And they're there for years in those conditions. We're working hard to decongest the prisons. We're working hard, my friends in the media, please visit the prisons. Since we pronounced that there will be beds and mattresses and blankets in the prisons, they're there.
With the current population of prisoners standing at close to 25,000 countrywide, 50,000 blankets have been purchased to accord 2 blankets to each inmate, while over 25,000 mattresses have been purchased to cater for every inmate. The Zambia Correctional Services is utilizing its skills training program within the Mukobeko Maximum facility to produce the bunker beds that are being distributed to all the facilities around the country. The efforts to modernize correctional facilities are seen even in construction of new facilities to decongest the old ones. This is the 1,800 capacity Mwembeshi Correctional Facility with some of the most modern amenities including 4 state-of-the-art workshops, 48 dormitories, modern classrooms, a library, chapel, a clinic, a modern kitchen, and eating areas. With so much done in the correctional facilities in so short a time, what can we look forward to?
This is the first time we have seen the procurement and distribution of such numbers of bunker beds, mattresses, and blankets. You know, those prisoners are entitled to those. Those are rights. They are entitled. The only major right that a prisoner doesn't enjoy fully is the right to liberty, right to freedom. But they are entitled to 3 meals. They are entitled to good accommodation. They are entitled to beddings. They are entitled to those bunker beds we are now seeing. That is as it should be. In my tour of duty, 22 years, I've never seen that.
It was really a very sorry sight in the previous years where you find so many people sleeping with very finished mattresses, and those would be like the privileged ones that would have even a torn mattress. So to see the government now buying new mattresses, delivering these mattresses to the facilities, making bunker beds, I think this is worth commendation. And we really, I would like to thank government on behalf of the Prison Health Advisory Committee that what they are doing, they should not relent. And yes, this is the responsibility of government, but we have had governments before. I think where praise are due, we need to do so. And I think we thank government for the initiative to buy mattresses to make sure that everyone else sleeps comfortably.
What would be the fate of our brothers, sisters, mothers, and fathers who are in these facilities had Providence not preserved the lives and well-being of those with whom God placed the sacrosanct responsibility to redirect the winding path of the Zambian prisoner's plight?
Every inmate inside, he has been accorded a bed and at least sufficient blankets to cover himself. At least that is also giving us value as human beings, that at least now we feel that at least there's someone who cares for us, and then there's someone who's supporting us.
Each prisoner nakwata bed yakwe epo arerara. So turemona tibuteko uburesa kamana nabafungwa.
What would be the substance of our claim to being a Christian nation if the weakest among us still wallowed hopelessly behind high walls in inhumane conditions?
We have the resources, we have the goodwill of the government. What would be our excuse? Surely there would be no excuse. So we had to quickly run through and do what we are supposed to do. So I think the spirit of the government that is prevailing now has been very conducive for us to exercise our mandate as correctional officers.
President Hakainde Hichilema went to prison not for treason, but for the prisoner's plight.
No, not again. That should fellow citizens sleep on the floor without blankets, without anything.
Cell 5, The Genesis.